We're going to pick up at the part in the story where we're talking about visitation, the escape from rehab, and the trial.
Hey beautiful people, how you are doing today? It's your girl Destiny here and welcome back to my channel. How you are doing? Hope you guys are doing great. So this video is the part 3 video of the video I posted previously. So I already posted part 1, part 2, and it's the story time of a man coming to share his story of who the F do I have kids with. This is inspired by Risa Tisa of Who the F Did I Get Married To. And this whole story is very interesting. You need to go watch part 1, part 2 so you get full context of what the story is. If this is the first part you're seeing, go watch part 1, part 2. I'll link it down in the description box so you can easily click on it and go watch it out, because there's a whole lot of turns and twists and backstories that's going to help you get into it. Names change. Okay, there was a transgender there that was a female turned male, and then I guess she went back to being a female. So you want to watch part 1, part 2 so you get full context of it. Okay, so it's about this brother talking about who the F do I have kids with, and this relationship. He went on to talk about the backstory, how he met this person he had kids with, and how their relationship started off and having their 2 kids, and how the relationship progressed into being manipulated, breakup, cheating, and all those things, even involving the courts. There was a PD involved in it because the partner was dating somebody that was an offender registered for kids. You guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, so anyway guys, just go check out part 1, part 2 so you get full context of what the story is. So let's go check out the final and the last part, the part 3. Then I'll come back and share my entire thought about the story and what I think about it. But anyway, let me know your own thoughts so far about the story. If you've been following up, let me know your own thoughts. So with that said, guys, let's go check it out.
Did I have kids with? Part 8. Trigger warning: this story contains the child and adult kind and DV situations. To anybody watching, I just want to let you know that I'm going to get to your questions after the series is over. There's a few more things that I want to talk about. I've also been in the comments and I had no idea how many of you had your own individual stories and experiences with James. You guys are putting together so many pieces of the puzzle that I didn't even have. We're going to pick up at the part in the story where we're talking about visitation, the escape from rehab, and the trial. Throughout the entirety of the court case, James saw the kids a total of 5 times. The reason I want to talk about these times is because each one was significant, because they were supposed to see the kids for an hour or so, and each one got cut short because Ryan was involved. The first time we made arrangements to see the kids was about a month or 2 after I got the emergency temporary custody order. Me and James had talked and we had set up that they would meet at the park. They would just take them, just go on a swing set and play for about an hour. Drop the kids off at the park and I head back to my house. I live 7 minutes away from that park. I didn't even have the opportunity to pull into my driveway before James called me and told me that he needed me to pick the kids up. I get back to the park and I asked James what happened. Why is this meeting being cut short? James tells me that him and Ryan have a prior engagement that they're running late and that they need to get to. Get the kids in the car, and just as I'm about to pull off, I overhear James talking to Ryan on the phone about their prior engagement, which was a tattoo or a piercing. The second time we set up arrangements was for them to meet me and the kids at a McDonald's within the same city that I live in. Pull up to the McDonald's, I get the kids out the car. It's one of those McDonald's with a play place. I order the kids food, and while they play, me and James started talking. He starts detailing some of Ryan has put him through. And he says that whenever he gets kicked out, he uses Ryan's card. Ryan had money. So he uses Ryan's card and goes to a hotel for a few days. And then once Ryan, cools his head, he comes back. He told me that he wants to leave, but he feels uncomfortable coming back to the house that we own together because my girlfriend is now living with me. We were only talking for 20-30 minutes before James gets a text from Ryan. Ryan is going off via text because apparently James didn't tell him that I was with the kids as well. They had a serious jealousy or insecurity toward me. In that moment, James says, "I can't deal with this right now. I have to go," and leaves. She asked me, "Can I reschedule?" And I said, "Sure, of course." That time that we rescheduled was the escape from rehab. About a month later, and James calls me and asks if I can drop the kids off at our old high school teacher's house. He was visiting with her, and we always had a really close connection in high school. And then after, I get the kids in the car, I take them, I drop them off. I spent a few minutes there catching up with my old teacher, and while I'm there, James tells me that Ryan's drinking has gotten so bad that he had to take him to rehab. He tells me that Ryan shat all over the house and that he had to spend hours cleaning up after him, and then taking care of him after he woke up. We finish our conversation and I leave. Something told me, don't go too far. I drove down the block to my brother's house and chilled for about 20 minutes until I got a call saying, Moses, I need you to get the kids. There's been an emergency. I rushed back to my old teacher's house and I asked James what happened, because now this is the third time that you've skated when you were supposed to be watching the kids, when you were supposed to be having your visit. He tells me that the rehab just called and they cannot find Ryan. It wasn't until a few hours later that I got the full story. While the nurses were on their smoke break, Ryan, still drunk mind you, escaped from the rehab, made it a few miles down the road, and then he got picked up by a police officer. How it was told to me, the police officer then takes him to the precinct, and then the parents of Ryan pick him up. This is a 40-year-old man. I forgot to mention this little detail. Ryan already had a warrant for his arrest. Since Ryan is a registered offender of children, part of his probation, which he had to register for 20 years, he had to check in monthly and take urine tests. Since he drank so much, he was not going to pass those urine tests, so he just didn't go. That was a violation of his probation, so they issued a warrant. The cop that picked him up on the side of the road just let him go. Didn't book him, didn't charge him, nothing. You would think that the person that I'm having this court case against, after having a warrant for his arrest, would be enough that it would just be able to win the case outright. No. The fourth time they saw the kids was when the relationship between James and Ryan had gotten so toxic that James had to move out. It's January 2022 and James is now moved out. He's told me that between Ryan and his drinking, that he couldn't stand it anymore. So when he moved out, he asked me, can I bring his kids to this safe area? The court case was still going on, mind you. I need you to remember that. I bring the kids to his new place, and they stay there for about 1 or 2 days, and I went to pick the kids up. It was a good visit. Just when I thought James was getting back on track, I thought his mindset started to shift, especially opening your own eyes to the abuse that you've been going through. I thought that James would change their mind about the case. Less than a month later, they moved back in with Ryan. Before I get into the 5th time that they saw the kids, I want to bring up something that is very important. A lot of you guys that were in James's live streams during that time were used for emotional manipulation. Whenever James and Ryan would break up, James would take Ryan's credit card and go to a hotel for 1, 2, 3, or sometimes even 4 weeks. Yes, I said weeks. During those times, he would re-download TikTok, and he would re-download it because every time they got back together, he would delete it. Ryan did not like him having social media. But every time they break up, James would go to a hotel, re-download TikTok, and he would start going live, venting about all of the abuse and everything that he went through, saying that they were a domestic violence survivor. It would take all that love and support that you guys would show them. And then when Ryan cleaned up his act enough or he stopped drinking, they would go back. And they would delete TikTok and they acted as if it never happened. This happened on several occasions, and although it is not my responsibility, I want to take this moment to say that I'm sorry to every single person who was a victim of theirs. Y'all did not deserve to be taken on that emotional roller coaster. Moving on, we're going to talk about the trial, and we're going to talk about the 5th time that they saw the kids. I want to preface this by saying I did not win the case. It was April/May of 2022, and at this point in time, the court case has been going on for months. And for months, I've been asking James, can you please drop the case? The case was to keep the kids away from Ryan. That was literally it. But after several attempts to try to get him to drop the case, Ryan pushed it to trial. I show up with my lawyer at the courthouse. James shows up with his lawyer, and we go into separate rooms. My lawyer dips out the room for like 45 minutes and comes back with an astonished and confused look on his face. He looks at me and tells me that James is just going to give me what I want. He's going to sign off on the kids not being allowed to be around Ryan. I asked my lawyer why, what happened, because it made no sense to me that you would drag out this court case for months, even when you have admitted from your own mouth that you don't want the kids around this man. Why would you concede right now? My lawyer then tells me that Ryan was subpoenaed, but he did not show up. I asked him why he didn't show up because, again, this is the day of trial. My lawyer tells me that Ryan had a warrant for his arrest, and if he would have shown up for the trial, he would have been arrested on site. His warrant was refusal to register. As a registered offender, in the state of Ohio at least, you have to register every year. My lawyer then asks me, what do you want to do about child support? I told the lawyer in that moment that my biggest concern was that they are in their kid's life. That was the only thing that I wanted. So I told the lawyer to put no child support under the condition that they follow the parenting plan. All they had to do was see the kids every other weekend. And then every few holidays. James and his lawyer come in the room and we sit down and we sign all the custody agreements and everything. The lawyers left the room to give me and James a chance to talk. During that conversation, James disclosed to me that Ryan is going to go on the run, and he was asking James if he'll go with him. He told me that he would never do it, that it was a crazy idea, and that instead he had a plan. James tells me that he's going to wait for Ryan to get arrested so that he can have the whole house to himself. He said that since Ryan was already a registered offender who didn't register, that the next time they caught up with him, he would be gone a long time. This was his idea. This was his plan. After that, we finished up our conversation and we parted ways. Fast forward to the 5th time that they saw the kids. This is about May/June of 2022. James, back in a relationship with Ryan, had just been kicked out again. He was using his card for the hotel room that he was in and going live with you guys. One day I took the kids to the hotel, and remember this hotel because they stayed there for several weeks. My son, to this day, literally thinks that they live at a hotel. I took the kids to the hotel and they had an amazing visit. The next day, I take the kids to my mom's house and I go up to the hotel to go check on James. At this point in time, me and Taylor had broken up and she had moved out of the house. And I was actually contemplating allowing James to move back in because they didn't have any place else to go. He tells me some sob story about all of he went through. And once again, I fell for it. And during a moment of weakness, we slept together. And again, I was going through so many emotions that I was not even allowing myself to process what was happening. June of 2022, they got back with Ryan. June of 2022 was the last time that they saw their kids. The only times I've heard from them since in reference to the kids has been when they've asked me if I will allow the kids to be around the new family that they've built, which includes Ryan. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next part, but before anybody asks, I just want to answer this question right now. No, they have not paid a single cent in child support. I'm gonna see y'all in the comments, but thank y'all for being here and thank you for giving me this safe place to express my emotions. Who did I have kids with? Part 9. Trigger warning, this story contains DV situations and I'm going to pick back up in the story at June 2022. After we hooked up, they got back with Ryan. That same month, something very interesting happened. Me and James's ex-best friend started talking and developing a friendship. Let's call her Morgan. The reason that's very interesting is because Morgan, when we first met like 4 or 5 years ago, she very much became James's best friend, and she did not like me whatsoever. She very much saw through my shadow, through my mask, all of that. I want to introduce another person, Kim. All right, remember her. Kim owns a radio station, and me and some past friends went on to do an interview on her radio station. Kim was actually dating one of my friends at the time, and the first thing that she said to me was that my brand sucked, and that's why I wasn't getting paid. She was trying to get us to start a radio station on her show, and I could not follow through on anything whatsoever at the time, so she continued to work with my friend while she continued to help me get my stuff together behind the scenes. Eventually, we became really close, and I wanted to introduce her to Morgan because I really thought that they would click. I was right, and we all started talking and developing this really, really deep friendship centered around healing, self-work, and setting healthy boundaries, things like that. I was extremely grateful because for once in my life, I felt like I had found family. These were two people who helped to keep me accountable for the man that I wanted to be. I wanted to grow, I wanted to heal from my traumas, and they were the catalyst in helping me to do that. On New Year's Eve of 2023, Kim comes out, shuts down her business to help me with the kids because she saw how overwhelmed I was. I was a single father at the time, and I was way in over my head. It's really important to note that I was finally at a place where I was beginning to heal. And I hadn't heard anything from James since June of 2022. It was January 2023. Kim comes out and she sees truthfully how bad of shape I'm in. His behavior was completely out of order at home. They weren't eating vegetables whatsoever. They was running me ragged. So when Kim came out, she pushed me to make appointments for like all the doctor's appointments, all the specialists, because my sons have hearing loss. And so we got set up with their cochlear stuff, all of that. At one point, my son had gastric issues and I did not know how to help him. I did not know how to comprehend what was even going on. I was so traumatized by what went on throughout the case at that point in time and just still trying to recover that I was reeling. The truth of the matter is I'm not sure that my son would still be here with us today if it was not for Kim. I was legitimately traumatized from the case. I was at a point where I was so confused. I was so broken. And I didn't know what to do. And when she came in, we found out that my son, he had a stool backed up to his colon, and I didn't know how to catch it. And I swear on everything, if it wasn't for her coming out when she did, I don't know if he would be here today. After she got my son's health in order, she had to go back to Chicago. You know, she still got to work here, live here, all of that. She came back to Chicago to check on things, and I asked her if she could shut her business down for a little bit longer to help me out with the kids, because I saw how big of an impact she made in such a short amount of time. From the minute that I started posting content with Kim, I introduced her to my followers as my sister, because that was the exact type of relationship we had. I felt like I found my long lost family. Interestingly enough, the second I started posting another woman on my social media pages, I got communication from James. Now, if you watch the other videos, you notice that James has a habit of reaching out to me whenever there's another woman in my life. Even though Kim and I weren't romantic at the time, James was asking our mutual friend Morgan if we were in a relationship or if there was something going on between us. And Morgan told him no. I want to make that very clear. We were truly platonic friends. As 2023 went on, Kim's trips lasted longer and they were more frequent. I needed all the help I could get because my sons are a reflection of me and I'm a lot to handle. Between February and June 2023, I started getting a bunch of text messages from James asking me if I could lift the court order that he signed that stated that his boyfriend is not allowed around the children. I told him absolutely the hell not. I will not allow my kids around that man. But I will allow you around the kids or to have some FaceTimes with them to reintroduce communication under the one guideline that we have joint therapy together, because at this point I did not have any trust for James. That was my only stipulation, and they kept asking the same question periodically through those months, and I kept telling them the same answer. Between that period of time, James calls me and he tells me that he is detransitioning, is going by she her pronouns, and now wants the boys to call her mommy. From this point forward in the story, I will be now referring to James as Jamie and replacing the he, him with she, her pronouns. Jamie calls Morgan with another sob story, promising that they were going to get out of the relationship and promising that they were going to focus on themselves, things like that. It's Kim and I's better advice. Morgan allowed Jamie back into her life. This person, Jamie, became somebody that I did not know. During one of the separations Jamie had from Ryan, I went on a live stream and saw her speaking anti-trans rhetoric. She started saying stuff like she doesn't believe that youth should have access to gender-affirming care. She started saying that trans kids shouldn't have access to certain resources like hormone replacement therapy. I was very much appalled at the person that I saw before my eyes, because every single thing that they had gone through, I saw them speaking out against. I was convinced that they were being brainwashed. You know how the cycle of Jamie, went back to Ryan and then just disappeared from the face of the earth. June of 2023, something really creepy started to happen. Amy's longtime childhood friend, Nadine, reaches out to me on Facebook Messenger and asks me if I've heard from Jamie. I told her no, and she goes on to tell me that Shirley, Ryan's mom, reached out to her on Facebook and said that she should file a missing persons report for Jamie. She said that she hadn't seen them for quite some time and that she was trying to ping Jamie's phone, but she was not getting a signal. I was teeter-tottering between, I'm not worried, I'm on my own healing journey, that's your life, and you're still my kid's other parent, and I don't want you missing. Ultimately let it go because I was not about to let Jamie and her disrupt my peace again. Over the next 2 or 3 days, 5 people contacted me asking if I had heard from Jamie. At this point, I had been on this roller coaster so many times, I was a little bit unfazed. Kim was hella worried because she didn't want the boys to lose another parent. And everything that we knew about Ryan, we were not convinced that she hadn't just been disappeared from the earth. If you remember from the previous parts, Ryan's ex had shared some explicit photos that they went through at the hands of Ryan. But at this point, I really think that something is wrong. Just last year, Ryan was drunk driving, crashed into a daycare, fled on foot, threw his ID out, and when the police finally caught up to him, he claimed to want to take his own life, so they took him to the hospital instead of jail. With no ID, he claimed John Doe and then signed himself out, thus evading the law on an open warrant that he already had. This was a man that I felt like was capable of doing anything and getting away with it. Once I really gave it some thought and to let the reality sink in that this is an actual possibility, I started contacting every single person in my family and Jamie's family. I called her mom, I called her sisters, I called childhood friends that I hadn't talked to in years. After talking to Jamie's mom She agreed that we should go to the police station and we should file a police report. She gave me the last known address of the hotel that they were at, and the next day I was going to go to the county that they were in and file a police report. Before I could file, the very next day, I got a message on Facebook Messenger from Jamie. They sent me a picture of them looking out a car window and a follow-up saying, "I'm fine. I just want everybody to leave me alone and let me live my new life." I was so pissed off because they had taken every single one of us for a ride. Me, Kim, Morgan, their family, my family, every single person. At this point, I was done and I never wanted to speak to them again. Around that same time in June, me and Kim started dating. And that's my current girlfriend, by the way. Love her to death. She be getting on my nerves, but it's the love of my life. As far as Jamie goes, I was like, yes, go over there, live your life. Me and the kids over here, we good. Didn't hear from them again until September 2023 when they called from a mental hospital. They didn't explicitly say that they were leaving Ryan, but they did mention that he and the abuse and all of the stuff that they went through while in their relationship is what put them in there. It came off as very kind and humble, which confused me, but I played along with it. And we had an hour-long conversation and where they told me about all their experiences and just the journey that they had been on over the last year and a half. What's about to come is very important. During that call, I asked them if they would sign over the house to me. At this point, the house was literally falling apart. The roof was an $18,000 fix. The heat didn't work. There were roots actually growing into the pipes underneath my house. My only course of action was to take out a loan to be able to fix the house. But for that, I needed either them to sign a loan with me or me to have the house by myself. Surprisingly, they agreed and they told me that they have a house of their own now and that I deserve it, so they will gladly sign it over. And he said, let me know what to do next. So I called the notary, I called the home title company, and I set everything up so that all they would have to do is sign. The literal notary would meet you at your door. One day later, they ghosted me. I was stuck on what to do because at this point in time, me and my kids are now living in an unsafe house. You have the ability to help, and you are choosing not to. I didn't hear another word from Jamie until 3 weeks later, when she called from another mental hospital. I have kids with, part 10. Trigger warning, this story contains situations and we're now at the point in the story where my baby mama, Jamie, has just called me from a mental hospital and manipulated me into thinking that she's going to sign the house over to me. Before we get into the events of what happened October 2023 and on, I want to talk about a couple of different things. There was 5 times that my baby mama saw the kids from 2022 to 2024. Each one of those 5 times, they were spotted seen in a white car. For years, anytime that a white car would pass on the street, my son Jalen would ask, "Is that Dada?" Mind you, he was still referring to her as Dada at this point in time because the last time he saw her, she was Dad. Anytime we passed this specific hotel that was down the street from my house, my son would ask me, "Can we go see Dada?" Because that's where he thought that his mother lived. These are conversations that I have to explain to my kids now about why their mother chose not to be in their life. That puts me in an incredibly difficult situation because how do you explain that to a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old? There's one other story that I forgot to tell, and I want to mention it now because it goes to point the extent that I went to defend a person who was hurting me. Early 2023, I got a call from Jamie's aunt. Remember the aunt that gave us the $60,000 to buy the house? She calls me, cussing me out, telling me that I need to allow Jamie to be around the kids and that there is nothing wrong with Ryan. She said that Ryan's a good guy, he comes from a good family, he has money, and I need to pull my head out of my... I went off and I told her that Ryan's not a good guy. And then I went on to tell her that he your niece. How do you feel about that? Do you still think he's a good guy? This woman told me that is a thing that happens in relationships and that it's just a part of life. You are not going to sit there and gaslight me into using your experiences to tell me that that is a norm or that it should be excused. That is a to me. I told her if you're going to excuse the assault that your niece went through on account of the comfort that this man can provide her because of the money that he has, you are part of the problem. I cussed her out and I hung up the phone. You do not try to convince me it's a normal thing in relationships. It is not. Moving on, I want to talk about the events that transpired from October 2023 till now. In October of 2023, Jamie, my baby mama, calls Kim, my current girlfriend, from a mental hospital. Jamie says to Kim, "Can you hand the phone to Moses so that he can give me my mom's phone number?" She deleted her mom's phone number on accident and she didn't have a way to get into contact with her. Ironically, we were already at Jamie's mom's house. I have a very deep relationship with Jamie's mom. Their mom was a second mother to me. On top of that, they're very much an active participant in my children's lives still. We're at Jamie's mom's house and Kim tells Jamie, I can just hand the phone to your mom. She's right here. She hands the phone to Jamie's mom. And when Kim walks in the door, the kids yell, Mommy! Back before me and Kim started dating, she was TT Kim to the boys. She was their auntie. At one point, they slipped up and called her mom because they was watching a lot of like family dynamic shows. We corrected them, and then after we started dating, they kept doing it, and we decided that it was okay. Beside that, Kim was already a mother to those boys before we were even romantic. When Kim walked in and the boys called her mommy, Jamie heard that. Remember that point for what's coming next. Next day, Jamie calls me from the mental hospital, and I had zero interest in talking to her after the debacle of you being a missing persons and me organizing a search party to find you. I was done. I didn't want anything else to do with her, but I was still polite, so I made sure to tell her, hey, I'm busy right now. I will call you back when I have the chance. She rebuts back to me, do you want the house or not? At this point in time, I was very aware of all of the situations in which I have been gaslighted. I've been ghosted by you. I don't trust you. At that point, Kim interjected and played the mediator role. She told me, hey, just calm down and go talk to her. We were in the process of trying to move because the house, again, was literally falling apart. The heat didn't work. The roofing was $18,000. The porch was caved in. This was not a safe environment for the children. Kim was like, calm down and go talk to her, because if she is still willing to sign the house over, we can get this house fixed up and make it livable for these kids. The minute Jamie heard Kim's voice, she responded, oh, and I would appreciate it if you stop having the kids call her mommy. Kim went off. He was like, you don't get to have the right to be angry at the fact that the kids are calling me a name you never went by. The kids have never known Jamie as a woman. They've only known him as James or Dada. Jamie responds and starts laughing and starts in a sing-songy voice, says, have fun with the house. That shit sent me into a spiral, because how do you have a call from a mental hospital and laugh at my pain? That's no knock to mental health. I'm a part of the alphabet gang myself, ADD, ODD, PTSD, all that. But you don't get to call from a mental hospital and laugh at somebody's pain. My situation, I'm trying to keep the kids from surviving a winter where the heat don't work, or having a roof cave in, and you sitting here laughing about that. Me, that showed complete and utter disrespect for myself and utter disrespect for the kids. You don't care. To top things off, I want to make a very important note. Me and Kim, back in 2023, started a project called the Blue Rose Healing Project. Blue Rose Healing Project was created to provide resources to people that are in situations so that they can get out and away from the created to give resources to people that are in marginalized communities, like the Black community, like the trans community, and to provide them with an avenue to accomplish their dreams. Jamie took something that I am so passionate about and tried to use that against me. He said, quote, I don't know how you about to handle your little facility when you can't even handle me. You're going to be dealing with people like me all the time. The condescending tone in the little facility. That's our ultimate goal, is we want to turn it into a facility that people can come to, take their kids and get out of the situations that they're in. And you sat there making a mockery of it. I cussed her out and I hung up the phone. After that phone call, me and Kim had a lot to discuss. The first thing, we had to process our feelings about that conversation. She was mad as hell, and I think at one point in time she even said the words exactly. How you gonna he from the mental hospital with your disrespectful? Much needed comedic relief, but it goes to show the level of disrespect that we both went through when trying to help as much as possible. Get off the phone with Jamie, and me and Kim sit down and we have a conversation, and we decide that we have to move. But this was not going to be a traditional move, because I have custodial parents, so I have to file a petition with the court letting them know that I'm changing my address, and they have to take that petition and send it to Ryan and send it to James, or Jamie rather. It's a little confusing. The court then tells me, and tell me what this is, that Jamie has the right to contest if she doesn't want me to move out of state with the kids. Do you know the emotional turmoil that put me through? Ryan, just in and of himself, he is a man that has escaped from the law on 3 at least separate occasions. Jamie has done every single thing she can to put the boys inside of the house with the person her. These are 2 people who have access to my kids' school. They have access to my home address. I didn't want to give them anything that they could just randomly come up, show up, and pick up the kids. I was scared as hell, but you have to follow what the court says. So I filed a petition. I spent the next couple days stressed out because I was worried about what Jamie was going to say or Jamie was going to do. The 3rd day, I got a notice in the mail It was my petition form with Jamie's name on it. Based on the rules of the custody agreement, I have to update my address to showcase where I'm living, and they had to do the same thing. They hadn't updated their address, so the court sent it back to the house that we both shared. So basically, not only did they ghost me, not only did they ghost the kids, but they ghosted the court system. Me and Kim spent the next few months looking for places, and we eventually settled on a place that we found in Chicago. Move was one of the hardest things I ever had to do because we had to emergency move. Let me explain. Remember when I told you about the nature of the dynamic between me and Jamie's family? Her mother, I still very much call mother. She was another woman who helped to raise me. Her sisters are my sisters. That being said, one of her sisters was still in contact with Jamie. I don't blame you. That's your sister. I didn't want anything getting back to Jamie, and then she get a crazy idea like, you know what? You're not about to take my kids out of the state. I'm going to go to their school and pick them up and take them away. We didn't tell them about the move until the day we were moving. I literally showed up at their house and like, hey, I need to have a deep conversation with y'all. I'm moving and I'm taking the kids with me. We're heartbroken to find out that information. And I have some guilt about the way that I handled it, but I also understand very much the fear that I was living in. We said our goodbyes and we moved to Chicago. I still very much remain a deep part of their lives and they remain a deep part of mine. Last thing I heard was that in January of 2024, Jamie and Ryan got married. So congratulations on the marriage. Now that you're caught up to the present moment, I want to say that there are several stories that I haven't told just because I'm literally still finding out more information to this day about it, and that I will be discussing further in further videos. I do want to address the several people that are watching this video that sent money to James or to Jamie, depending on that time frame, and it was with the intention to send it to the kids. I was not aware of that, and I don't know what they did with that money. You guys have also left an overwhelming amount of comments, so I'm going to be going through all of those, answering some frequently asked questions. I'll be telling more of those stories as they come to mind. Thank you for watching Who I Have Kids With. And also, if you or a loved one is going through, please seek help and text START to 88788. Or if you're interested in working with the Blue Rose Healing Project, please text SLOW-MO to 53555 or hit the fourth link in my bio. You do not have to go through it alone. You are loved, you are supported, and you have a safe space within this community. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Please go on in the comment section and share your thought and let me know what are the things you took out from this story, and let me know down in the comment section, did you watch all 3 parts? Let me know down in the comment section. Love to know your thoughts. Okay, but please keep it respectful. As always, here on this channel we're allowed to disagree, but we do it in a respectful way, so feel free to share your opinion. Okay, so yeah, my battery died, so I didn't react to it to the end, but I listened to the entire story. A whole lot of things are happening, and I feel like there's a whole lot of missing part in this story. For me, before any relationship or any in and out and all that, there's always 2 sides to the story. Is that if I'm trying to defend the other party? But I feel like when a story is being told and you're not telling the part you played in it, for me, I'm just like, okay. But that's not to say that, which is a conversation that we've always had here on this channel, talking about how we should be very intentional about who we choose to have kids with. And I feel like this is a clear example of this, where as a person, especially as a woman, be very, very intentional about having kids. Don't just go ahead to have kids. And the fact that when it comes to having kids, and once you have kids, some people will say, oh, once the kids are 18 or and all that. The thing is that whoever you choose to have kids kind of mold or structure the way your life is going to navigate and the way your life is going to go. So if you choose to have kids with somebody that you've not really thought about it through, it was just for the moment, and at that moment it felt good, it wasn't a very logical decision, you might end up regretting it, because there will be a whole lot of roller coaster, a whole lot of trauma and instability for the kids. For me especially, I actually picked that. I know somebody say, oh, that's not, you're homophobic. Somebody said that in one video and all that, or transphobic, all that. I don't really care what anybody says about me, but for me personally, I don't care what you choose to do with your personal life. Whatever you choose to do with your personal life, it's on you. It doesn't affect me, so why should I be like, it doesn't do anything to me. I'm not against it. I'm not like, just do you. For me, is that just be happy and just live your life and be happy. But for me, one thing I noticed, and I feel like it stands out for me in this entire story, is the transitioning and the transitioning, the identify and not identifying. It's the fact that how it's going to mess up with the children they choose to raise together. How can you tell a child 1 minute your dada and the next minute your mama, and probably these children, they've never seen you as a woman before, and you're coming out and then you show up after not being in their life for a while as a woman. I feel like that is just going to confuse the children. And also, this is also a starting point to talk about how most times when people have kids, when it comes to when the fight starts, there's this saying they say in Africa, they say that when two elephants starts fighting, it's the ground that gets the impact. And this just refers to situations like this, where when both parents start fighting, is the children that feels the impact of the fight, because sometimes some of these parents start using these children as pawn to get at each other and not really considering the children's safety. But I am in total disagree for you to put your child anywhere close to somebody that has a record of PD. Like what are you even, you as a parent that has children, what are you even doing with somebody like that? Even you as an individual, what are you doing with something like that? For me, that's like, it's not an healthy thing to do, to have your children around such people. And even you as a human being, what why are you even dealing with people like that? And this is where this always boils down to the motto, or I said, one of the mission of this channel. I think that's actually one of the movement I should really take serious, always encouraging people to go do the work, know themselves, know who you are, know what you, because when you know, you do the work, you're able to identify your trauma, do the work on identifying your trauma, healing your trauma. It helps you to know who you are as a person, and also helps you to know what you want in your life, how you want to navigate life, and all that. And that says a lot about you putting up with this, and also going up with your whole roller coaster. I'm not saying that those of us or people that have done the work are able to identify their trauma, they don't have life issues, or they don't have downtime and all that. Anyway, guys, let me know your thought down in the comment section. I'd love to know what you think about this conversation down in the comment section, but please keep it respectful, and I will see you guys in my next video. Deuces.